Are the Clippers done, in your opinion?
I think they are. I don't think they beat Utah. Well, first of all, it's not fair for me to even say it like that. What I mean is I picked Utah to win this series before it began. So I'm certainly not going to pick them to lose 4 of the next 5 games.
Okay.
So that's where that comes from. And the reason why I said that is because of 3 things, not necessarily in this order. They have a big-time perimeter defender in Royce O'Neal who can chase ball handlers around and chase stars around. They have an elite reigning defensive player of the year, frontline defender in Rudy Gobert. And they have a superstar. Make no mistake about it. Donovan Mitchell is a superstar. He's the kind of guy you can sit up there and say, here's the ball. Take us there. When everybody knows it's you, when everybody knows what you're going to do it, when everybody can imagine how you're going to do it, and they still can't stop you. It is official. This brother, after what he did last year, remember, sent Russell Westbrook and Paul George home in the playoffs a couple of years ago. And so breath smelling like Similac wet behind the ears. He pulled that off. Last year, he put on the show against Denver and Jamal Murray and the boys, even though they lost in 7 games. This year, he is 6-0. They are 6-0 when he is in the starting lineup. He is averaging 32. In this series, he's averaging 41 on 52% shooting. He is giving it to the Clippers. He is outshining Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined.
MVP of the playoffs right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. Donovan Mitchell, when he ended with 37, I was disappointed.
Listen.
Like, he had 37.
You were like,
I was like 37.
Like,
I thought he was going to go for 60.
You're like, at least get in the 4s.
Listen, y'all.
That's how good he is.
Listen, y'all, and understand what else he's doing. If you're Steve Ballmer, the owner for the billionaire owner, multi-billionaire owner for the Los Angeles Clippers, building a new arena in Inglewood and all of this other stuff. If Donovan Mitchell takes your Clippers out, guess what, Max? Let Kawhi go. Let him walk. Let him exercise his option and go elsewhere. Because now you're talking about your best chances with LeBron James home. You're talking about this is arguably the Clippers' best chance to win the chip. If last year wasn't, certainly this year was.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it done now you're talking about retooling, rebuilding, trying to establish a culture. You can't establish, as big time as Kawhi Leonard is, you can't establish a culture with a dude that you've got to exercise load management with so excessively. So I'm just saying.
Can they win?
I'm just saying. The magnitude of what Donovan Mitchell is doing to these Clippers cannot go unnoticed.
And it's certainly not going unnoticed. It's the headline.
Yeah.
And by the way, Donovan Mitchell, most points, I believe this was before even this last game, to start a playoff career in the first 28 games, whatever it was. MJ, number 1, greatest scorer of all time. Wilt, number 2, second greatest scorer of all time. I think Donovan Mitchell's now 3rd on that list. MJ, Wilt, Donovan Mitchell.
Max, he's already the best player in Jazz franchise history.
Yeah,
ahead of Karl Malone. And
Yeah. When it counts?
He's already
when
better.
it counts.
He's already better.
Over.
Yes.
Karl
Malone and John Stockton. Yes. They were never him.
Okay.
Ever.
I just want to make sure everyone's hearing all these bold things that are
when
happening.
the lights
We're only
shine
in the A
brightest,
block.
I agree. Donovan Mitchell's clutch factor is next level. But the Clippers can still win this series.
Okay,
Sure
tell
they
us
can.
why.
Sure they can. First of all, Stephen A., I have a question for you. Who won the first 2 games of the Clippers-Mavs series this season?
Mavs.
Who won the first 2 games in 2016 of the finals? Cavs-Warriors. First 2 games of Cavs-Warriors. Who won the series, Clippers-Mavs, this year?
Clippers.
And who won the Cavs-Warriors series
Cavs.
after falling down to 2? Who was the coach of the Clippers this year and of the Cavs then? Ty Lue.
Yeah.
Now, you know what's happening? Do you know why they're losing these games?
Great points.
They're on the road, okay? And they're getting the brakes beaten off them in the 3rd quarter. What's the 3rd quarter? Coach's quarter. You need to tell me Ty Lue can't make adjustments? Now, that's on the road. Every series ever played, the road team either does what the home team either does what they're supposed to do and defends home court, right? Or the road team wins a game and it's like, uh-oh, the home team just messed up, right? The Clippers are going to have to win a game on the road. They're going to have to defend home court and win a game on the road. Can they do that? Yes, they can. Do they have the right coach for it? Yes, they do. Furthermore, Bogdanovich outplayed Kawhi Leonard on both ends of the floor last night. How many more times is that going to happen? Kawhi has bad games, all superstars do, but Kawhi is a clutch killer. You think he's going to let Bogdanovich outplay? He didn't let Luka outplay him all of last series. You think Bogdanovich is going to?
You're missing the point. Great points notwithstanding, you're still missing it. You see, when you have a superstar like Donovan Mitchell, and he's outshining you as a player, you can come back. But in the end, unlike Luka Doncic, he's got Bogdanovich, he's got Ingles, he's got Jordan Clarkson. They've done it without Mike Conley.
That's what's scary. No Mike
They've
Conley.
done it without Mike Conley. You have a perimeter defender in Royce O'Neal who's all over the place. All right,
I love me some Royce O'Neal.
It wasn't just Bogdanovich defending, it obviously was Royce O'Neal. Not only that, unlike against Dallas, you have someone on the interior that's telling you, you better stay out there and shoot them damn jump shots. You know what they have to do to make a presence in the interior? They have to bring in DeMarcus Cousins. And let's be fair to DeMarcus Cousins. He's no scrub.
He scored a couple times too, right?
When DeMarcus Cousins was healthy, he was averaging 28 a game.
Yeah.
Let's not forget
Highly
that
skilled
about this
scoring
brother.
and passing
It's
big man.
injuries that ravaged his career. He can play, okay? So let's understand this. When you look at it from that perspective, in terms of everybody else, the Utah Jazz are saying we're going to contest every shot on the perimeter of a Kawhi, of a Paul George. We're going to make, Reggie Jackson can drop his 29, but we're going to make somebody else beat us. On the interior, you ain't getting anything in here unless you go big boy, and that's not what the Clippers want to do because they're the best shooting team collectively in the NBA. And then on top of it all, you got Donovan Mitchell having help, and they can't guard him one-on-one.
Therefore, what
they can't guard him one-on-one.
And by the way, he's not like
Ty Lue had to go to a zone.
How many times is Ty Lue going to, like at a certain point, no Patrick Beverly for Rondo, and there'll be other things that he adjusts.
He had to go zone.
I know.
This game more about Mitchell or George?
Oh, it was more about Donovan Mitchell. Is this a trick question? The dude who dropped 45, the dude who did not have his crime partner with him in the backcourt, no Mike Conley, he goes out after what he did last year in the bubble in that series against Denver, where he and Jamal Murray went back and forth in one of the all-time great first-round battles ever, history of the sport. Had multiple 40-point games then. He was incredible. Picked up right where he left off. No Mike Conley, no problem. 45 in the win in a game where they were down pretty big at the half, where he didn't do much in the first half, completely takes over the game. And this morning, that game was clearly about Donovan Mitchell.
Well, Max, let me tell you where you're wrong, all right? And we're just getting the show started, okay? The reason that you're wrong is because we already know that Donovan Mitchell could do this. We already know that he could drop 40 in his sleep when it matters the most because of his history, right? This is more about Paul George, okay? Can anybody find Paul George? I remember him going on a podcast, All the Smoke, and saying that people were going to pay. Well, right now, the only person that's paying is Steve Ballmer because we don't know where you are. And here it is right now in the time where it matters the most, when Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers need a Paul George to step up and elevate his game. Where has he been, Max? Think about it. Last series, Game 5, Game 6 against the Mavericks, 6 for 15 from the field. Game 7, 5 for 15 from the field. Last night, 4 for 17 from the field. I mean, if I'm Kawhi Leonard, I'm going to him after the game and say, hey, dog, I need you to step up. I need you to elevate your game. I need you to help me out. I need you to do something offensively. You got to bring something to the table. Look, getting 20 points, that's a norm for anybody that's a star in the league. But Paul George is labeled as a quote-unquote superstar. It's time for him to have one of those 40-plus nights or average 35 or 30 points throughout the course of a series.
You're a day late and a dollar short. The argument yesterday was who has more to prove. Stephen A. and I debated who has more to prove, and you'd have been right then, as I was right then. Paul George had more to prove in this game. But in terms of who is it more about, who's more important, Donovan Mitchell. Paul George is second banana. Paul George is not a superstar. You could call him an all-star plus. He's not a superstar. 1 year, maybe he was top 5-ish MVP 1 year and he got hurt a little bit. And that's not a superstar. He is a real good, we thought, second banana. If he's Robin to Kawhi's Batman, okay, but he's got to show up as Robin at least. Now look, he had a good fourth quarter. The first three, not so much. He had a good fourth quarter, and it wasn't enough. But he's not a superstar, and he's not asked to be one. He's just asked to be the same old all-star plus dude he normally is in the regular season. He's been unable to do that, but that doesn't mean the game's more about him. You mean to tell me the superstar or the guy who's becoming one before our eyes, Donovan Mitchell, doesn't have his backcourt partner, the other guy who can create for teammates, is losing by double digits at the half to the team with Kawhi and Paul George, who just came back down 3-2 to win the series, who have playoff Rondo, who seem to have everything they need? And Donovan Mitchell drops 45. You're trying to tell me it's not about him? Why? Because you expect it already? Because that's the third time he's had over 40 points in a playoff game? Third quickest ever to that number behind Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain? That means that it's not more about him because we just expect him already at his age to be the best player in the game?
No, Max, what we're asking Paul George to elevate his game. And with Mike Conley being out, that makes it even worse because now you can't even go head-to-head with a guy who, in Donovan Mitchell, who's missing his Robin. He's missing Mike Conley, an all-star, a guy that had a phenomenal last series against the Memphis Grizzlies. Like I said before, Max Kellerman, look, Donovan Mitchell showed us last year what he's capable of doing. He showed us last series what he's capable of doing. Right now, the West is wide open. The Clippers are the favorite to win the West. Why? Because they have a dynamic duo in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. We know what Kawhi Leonard is going to do. When is Paul George going to step up to the plate?
Now, there's no argument there. There's no argument. Of course, Paul George has a lot to prove. If you want to say, if the question is, what player needs to step up for their team to get out of the West? Paul George, you could say that before the playoffs started. But I got to be honest, I didn't think Utah was going to win last night. I didn't think they were going to win going into the game without Conley. I didn't think they were going to win as I was watching the game throughout the first half. Even in the fourth quarter, when the Clippers started turning it on, I thought, okay, here we go. I didn't think they were going to win then, but they did win. And if you take Donovan Mitchell off that team, let's face it, you could even replace him with another all-star. That's not the Utah Jazz. No one's fearing them.
Max, if Paul George would have shot at least 40% from the field last night, they would have won. You know what I did? I watched Paul George last night, and he ran from the moment, okay? Not only was he not available for the Clippers offensively, but he didn't take no type of pride of ownership to guard Donovan Mitchell. If you're not producing on the offensive end, the least you could do if you're quote-unquote one of the best two-way players in the game today is go take on the responsibility and try to cool off a red-hot Donovan Mitchell instead of leaving Rajon Rondo and Luke Kennard on them. All I'm saying is this, Max. The Clippers are the favorite right now if you look at all the teams in the Western Conference. I'm not taking anything from Donovan Mitchell. This kid is special, beyond special, a superstar. But right now, with the Lakers being out, and in the position that the Clippers are in, and all the stuff that's surrounding the Clippers, all the expectations that they have, Paul George has to elevate his game and help Kawhi.
He did in the fourth quarter.